In 945 AD, tragedy struck Kiev. Prince Igor, the ruler of the city, was brutally killed by the Drevlians, a powerful tribe from Eastern Europe. The Drevlians, known for their fierce independence, captured Igor and devised a horrifically symbolic execution. They bent 2 tall trees to the ground, tying each of Igor's limbs to one of them. Then, with cruel finality, they released the trees. As they sprang apart, Igor's body was violently torn in two, his blood spilling onto the earth. News of Igor's death shattered his wife, Princess Olga. But beneath her grief, she felt an icy resolve solidify. If the Drevlians thought they had freed themselves from Kiev's control, they were mistaken. Olga was determined to exact a revenge so complete and brutal that it would burn the memory of her husband's murder into history. She took over the throne, ruling as regent for her young son, Sviatoslav, and turned her attention fully to avenging Igor. It wasn't long before the Drevlians revealed their arrogance. Confident that they could manipulate the new ruler, they sent their finest men to Kiev to propose marriage on behalf of their prince, Mal. This union, they reasoned, would allow them to rule Kiev through Olga, seizing the power they craved. But Olga met the envoys with grace and charm, hiding the venom that lurked beneath her calm exterior. "Welcome," she told them, smiling. "Rest well tonight, and tomorrow I shall give you my answer." But that night, Olga put her plan into motion. As the Drevlian envoys lay sleeping, her soldiers surrounded them. At dawn, the envoys were seized, dragged to a deep pit, and buried alive. Olga watched with cold satisfaction as the last of the dirt was shoveled over them. This, however, was only the beginning. Feigning interest in the alliance, Olga sent word to Prince Mal. She expressed her acceptance of his proposal and explained that she had detained his finest men to honor them with a parade through Kiev in celebration of her upcoming marriage. But, she added, she required even more Drevlian warriors to assist in preparing for the ceremony. Delighted, Mal sent another delegation of his bravest warriors to Kiev. When they arrived, Olga received them warmly, leading them into her castle where she hosted a grand feast. The warriors, lulled by her hospitality, felt no reason to be wary. But once they had dined, Olga gave her signal. The doors of the hall were locked, and her soldiers set the building ablaze. As flames and smoke engulfed the hall, Olga stood outside, watching without flinching as the Drevlian delegation perished. Still, Olga was not done. She then invited Prince Mal and the Drevlian nobles to a grand funeral feast to honor her late husband. When they arrived, unaware of the fate of their fellow Drevlians, Olga appeared to welcome them with open arms, offering food and wine in abundance. The Drevlians relaxed, drinking deeply, certain they had secured their ambitions in Kiev. As the celebration reached its peak, Olga's soldiers entered the hall, weapons drawn. The feast transformed into a massacre as the soldiers cut down the surprised and unarmed Drevlians. By the end of the bloodbath, around 5,000 Drevlian soldiers and nobles lay dead. With the Drevlian leadership shattered, Olga prepared her armies for the final blow. Her forces marched into Drevlian lands, laying siege to their cities and villages. As starvation and despair began to set in, the Drevlians, now weakened and leaderless, begged for mercy. They offered tribute of honey, furs, and whatever resources they could gather. Finally, Olga seemed to relent, agreeing to spare them on one condition. Each household must deliver her 3 pigeons. Confused but grateful, the Drevlians eagerly complied, relieved that her demands seemed so simple. But Olga's plan was far from merciful. When the pigeons were delivered to her, she instructed her soldiers to tie pieces of cloth dipped in sulfur to the birds' feet and set them alight. At nightfall, the birds were released, and as they flew back to their nests, flames trailing from their feet, the entire Drevlian town erupted in fire. The inferno spread quickly from home to home, engulfing the village in flames. Panic ensued as the Drevlians fled their burning city, but Olga's soldiers awaited them outside the walls. Some were cut down as they ran, others were taken captive, destined for a life of servitude. In the end, Olga had utterly destroyed the Drevlians, leaving no trace of those who had dared to take her husband's life. The once proud tribe was no more, their lands and legacy wiped from history by Olga's vengeance. She had avenged her beloved Igor in a manner so ruthless that it would forever be remembered as one of the most chilling acts of revenge in history.